Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. Today, something of a Seiko special. Now here we have my darling little flighty, the Flightmaster. The price right now is just going through the roof on these. There's rumors that it's been discontinued, conflicting rumors, let's say. But anyway, the reason why I'm talking about this watch is because, and this is something I adore about Seiko. It seems like every day I find another Seiko I didn't know about. And believe it or not, there was an actual automatic version of the Flightmaster, which I came across on a site called Musings of a Watch Addict, which is basically, which could summarize my whole channel, really. Apparently, there was an automatic version. If we scroll down, now there is the spec. It had the SKX007 movement, high beat movement, and much bigger at 40, I think it was 44 millimeters. So there's the three variants, but have a look at this one. Let's just get in there close. It looks very much like dear old little flighty there. I mean, you can see they're related. We have numerals there. I think there's even a power reserve. There's a date at the 6. Oh, look at that bezel. Oh, still with the yellow hands. I mean, I never knew about this watch. I have a feeling they're probably quite rare, and according to this was only made in limited amount. But there's also a shot of the display back. Let's see if we can look at that. Very tool-tastic. Lovely shots. I'll include a link to the article in the description if you're interested. There we go. And look, it's a column wheel chronograph. Ah, I mean, that is what horological wet dreams are made of, isn't it? Look at that. Undecorated. It's a tool watch. Very cool. I just thought I'd start with that. Who knew there was an automatic flighty? Let's just engage that chronograph for old time's sake. There it goes. Flightmaster, old flighty. I love that way the crystal distorts. Anyway, yeah, I'm getting completely distracted. Let's roll the intro and get into today's show. Hi guys, and welcome to the show. Today a Seiko special. We're going to be reviewing two Seikos. The let me get I can never remember the reference numbers. The SNZH57 and the watch that I have on my wrist today. I'm not going to do my wristwatch check. I'll just wait for you to well, you're going to see it in just a moment. Also, I would like to catch up on, where is it? Where have I put it? Oh, here we go. My SKX, my modded SKX. It's been 6 months. A lot of you have been asking how is the Cerakoting holding up. So I thought I'd have a closer look at that. This also should be included in today's video because the watch I'm wearing is a mod. Well, to be honest, a very disappointing mod, and a perfect example of when watch modding is done correctly. Shout out to Watchmaker4, my good friend who did this for me. Oh, and by the way, I've also purchased the new strap for my SKX. I've been calling my Hunter Pro mod the King Panther in reference to that lovely all black finishing. Anyway, before we get into that, let's familiarize ourselves with this little beauty that I unboxed, I think last week. Now, I'm doing this review a little bit ahead of schedule because I have a lot of reviews yet to do. So I'm gonna move a few reviews forward to get them out of the way. And actually, to be honest, I've already summed up all the negatives and positives of this watch. There's a lot to talk about. It's a watch that equally impressed me and equally disappointed me. So without further ado, let's change perspectives, take a closer look, and then we'll come back and we'll do the positives and negatives. This is the 007 with the Hunter Pro mod. I had done by a fantastic chap in the UK, and it features a Cerakote case, a bezel, crown. This is usually used for firearms, but makes for a wonderful finish on a watch. Now, I did review this, so if you want to see the full review, have a look back. So I thought I'd share my observations. How is the coating fared over quite a lot of use. It has become a favorite, and probably my favorite SKX I've ever owned. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Also, you'll notice we have a 55 Fathoms mod. This is just come in. This again is another, sorry, it's a little that's why I love the gloves. I can just wipe it clean. This is a modded version of the watch we're also going to be reviewing in this video. This, of course, is the Seiko SNZH57K1. It is a Seiko 5, a diving inspired watch. It's not an official diver like the famed SKX. There, the SKX is ISO certified, real professional diving watch, respected by enthusiasts. I'm not going to go into it. You know my numerous videos on the beloved SKX, but that is a real professional dive watch. This is more of an everyday watch that has heavily been influenced, obviously, by the 50 Fathoms. Now, the 50 Fathoms, if you're not familiar, is a hugely important and iconic watch. It's the archetype of dive watches, released, I think, in 1952. It predates the Submariner. Even back then, it was 42 millimeters in diameter. These days, unfortunately, I think they're about 45 millimeters. I did try one on in Las Vegas. I visited the Blancpain dealership there, a fantastic store, and it kind of broke my heart because I do love the Blancpain, and hence why a lot of guys, especially because the price tag is, I mean, we're talking 12,000, even more for a new one on the used market. Blancpain modern equivalent will go for 9 grand. So this is a very affordable option. However, we'll come back to the Blancpain mod in just a second, but as you can see, it is greatly inspired by the iconic watch. So it's completely stainless steel. You do get a variety of different dial colors and bezels. There's a blue version, there's a white dial version, and then there's two versions in black. This is with the gold applied, or gold tone applied indices, and Seiko 5 logo, with, of course, the hands, the plunger hands in gold, as well as the framing of the day-date display. The insert on the bezel is also in gold. So let's get the dimensions out of the way first. Diameter is 41 millimeters. We have a height or thickness of 14, quite tall there. Lug to lug is about 46, so quite small, and I think that's why it wears a lot smaller. And the lug width is 22. A little bit of a shame there. I feel a 20 would have been better. Slightly too large for this size of watch head. So the case is entirely stainless steel. It comes on a bracelet. I'm not a big fan of the bracelet. The double push button deployment there with a little fold over safety, very standard affair. Now, this watch is currently, at the time of filming this, I think they're going for about 150 to 170 bucks. So this is very much the entry level, but it's surprisingly impressive for an entry level Seiko 5. Well, as are all Seiko 5s, you do get a hell of a lot of bang per buck and value. So it is an automatic. You get inside the 23 jewel movement, the 7S36, which you can see the back. There is even a display back, which I just think is wonderful, because as an entry level watch, or perhaps for your first mechanical watch, it's great to see that movement in action. And you can even see, if you move the rotor around, let's see if we can capture it. And you can just see it there touching that wheel there. Part of the magic lever, which is integral to both the 7S26 in my SKX and this slightly later updated version. This is the 7S36. Now, there are 2 extra jewels in comparison, and the 2 added jewels compared to its predecessor support the third wheel, an escape wheel. Now, whether this improves performance is hotly debated. I can tell you in terms of accuracy, this is performing incredibly well. well, a second more accurate than my SKX, but really there isn't that much difference between them. I'm averaging about plus 12, I think, at the moment, which is phenomenal considering this is, you know, a completely unregulated entry-level automatic movement. However, I do inherit the same downfalls as the 7S26, which is the inability to hand wind the movement. And as you can see, there is no screw down crown as well, so which is unfortunate and is probably one of my negatives, but we'll get to that at the end. So this is 100 meters water resistant, as you can see on the dial. You do get, let's just move the hands a bit, and then you do get quick set on the date and day. So there you go, and I think it's in Spanish and English. Now, the lack of manual wind is not necessarily a problem, because thanks to that magic lever system, has a wonderful bi-directional winding. You just give it the Seiko shuffle and boom. The power reserve is about 40 hours and it operates at 21,600 vibrations an hour. This family of movements have been going since 1996. Very reliable, known for their ruggedness and ability to withstand shock, extremely easy to service and maintain. This family of movements is descended from a great line of extremely robust calibers. The Seiko 7000 series has been known to go for without a service for 10, even 15 years. And actually, I've got to say that the fact there is a display back added, especially if you're buying this as a first time purchase and you're just getting into mechanical pieces, it's lovely to see the magic of an automatic movement, especially one as respected by both newcomers and watch enthusiasts alike. So the case itself is this rather retro-inspired kettle shape, quite reminiscent of Oris divers, actually, I have to say. The lugs are very kind of Blancpain-ish, not that pronounced, so it does wear smaller. I'm not a fan of the bracelet at all, I have to be honest. I've been wearing it on a native strap. What else? Actually, this is a one-piece Zulu. The clasp does have micro adjustments, and the pins hold the links together. It's very jingly jangly. You know, it's an entry-level diver. It also does not really taper. Well, it tapers for the first two links, and then it's pretty much the same all the way through. The back is a screw-down case back. The crown, unusually, is positioned at the 3 o'clock. Now, so the Seiko 5's line of watches was first created in the 1960s to introduce or try and inspire a whole new generation of people into watches. It had 5 key attributes. The first being it had to be automatic, had to have a day-date display, it had to be water resistant, and it had to have a recessed crown at the 4 o'clock position, and it had to be durable with a bracelet. Now, this meets 4 of the 5. I remember when I explained that in the first video, well, people said, oh, well, you know, there are Seiko 5s now with the crown at the 3 o'clock. Yes, you are absolutely right. So it has differed, the interpretation, I guess, to match more designs, especially something like this where it's inspired by an actual iconic watch. Pretty much it meets all the key defining features that make a Seiko 5 watch. The dial is a beautiful glossy black dial with quite pronounced minute markers. The indices are beautifully faceted with the loom on the inside. We do get the Lumibright loom, and actually let's bring in the 55 Fathoms mod so you can just see how the different loom compares. Now, the 55 Fathoms mod has done away with the date and the day at the 3 o'clock. The hands are exactly the same, but we got that lovely diamond marker at the 12. Everything else pretty much is the same. You can get varying versions of the 55 mod with the date I think the date at 4:30. But that's certainly something I do enjoy about the 55 Fathoms mod, is that you get so much more loom to enjoy there. The bezels are the same. We do get a 120 click. It's a unidirectional. In terms of the bezel action itself, it's extremely similar to the SKX. Now, the bezel insert is something that is very faithful to the Blancpain style. We get a lovely cog edge to it. We get a domed hardlex. Now, hardlex is Seiko's own proprietary glass. I like Hardlex. It's a little tougher than acrylic, but not as scratch resistant as sapphire glass. Now apparently the insert is not acrylic, it is, which I guessed in the unboxing, it is actually Hardlex painted on the inside. Again, very reminiscent to the Bakelite bezels of the mid-century divers, and gives it that retro feel beautifully. The crown is unsigned. We don't get any crown guards. The crown is slightly recessed. I do think it's a nice size, and the way the bezel frames that domed crystal is just beautiful. I really do love the step up there. It's very satisfying to look at. Gives the watch a lot of charm and character. The hands are easy to read. You get lume on all three hands, easy to distinguish them from one another, and you get a nice arrow on the second hand. So let's pop it on the wrist and see how it wears. So there we go. Now on my tiny little wrist, it does wear remarkably well. It's not that big. I was expecting it to be a lot bigger. It wears like a 40. Now I've put it on my Lucky Zulu, I think kind of inspired by the early French combat divers that famously wore the Blancpain. It's very, very comfortable, light, extremely solid feeling. On a NATO, it's just about 100 grams. On the bracelet, I think it's about 168 grams, so substantially heavier. I gotta say, I really do like the mod a hell of a lot more. Very comfortable and extremely legible. Let's take it back to the studio and summarize this watch. So first of all, without a doubt, incredible value for money. What you get for just over $150 is extremely impressive. I think also it's a fun way to get a watch that is very classical in its style. Yes, it has an uncanny resemblance to the 50 Fathoms, although I think the unmodded version does stand by itself. It does have its own characteristics. So it's not a homage. This is a homage. We'll get onto that in just a second. This is what Seiko do so well. They're able to make watches very affordably and a decent quality. And I've got to say, the finishing, I didn't mention, but the mix and transitions from high polished to the brushed sections are done incredibly well. It always makes me wonder how Seiko achieved this at such an affordable level. And while we're on the subject of its aesthetics, it's got to be said that it's very tastefully done. In hindsight, I kind of regret I didn't get the blue one in for review, because that vivid, rich blue is just to die for. But part of the logic was that I knew I was going to do this mod, so I wanted to get the kind of before and after effect. Another aspect I really love about this watch, big positive, is that it makes for a great everyday watch. Okay, so it's not a legitimate diver like the SKX, but you get the day date, which is very useful complication. You get the timing bezel, which is fantastically useful. A pet peeve of mentioned in the last video was that a few people said they wish that Seiko did watches in more modest sizes, 40mm sizes. I know this is a 41, but it will please a lot of wrists. Another positive is that its style is going to be certainly compatible with a lot of straps, NATOs, rubber straps as well. It's going to be a versatile piece. Okay, so what are the negatives? Well, I've got to say the lack of a screw down crown, it really, I understand, look, you know, it's a budget entry level watch, but it's just a weird having a dive themed watch without a screw down crown. I still can't get used to it. It doesn't feel right. I can't really explain it better than that. I'm not going to critique it for its lack of hacking and manual wind. That is just part and parcel of this movement, although I'm sure in the future now Seiko are starting to introduce newer movements, they're more superior movements into the Seiko 5 range and entry-level watches. That will be a thing of the past. I do feel on the unmodded version it is very reflective. The glossy dial does not help. Somewhat improved by the matte finish, and it's a beautiful matte finish of the 55 Fathom mod. I love the balance and the increased symmetry of the modded version. The crosshead detail, that little semi-railroad track running around the outside. That diamond marker is just pure class. And I love that little pop of red where it says 55. This also improves the loom, which is quite weak on the unmodded version. The loom is much more legible, obviously, with the larger loom indices on the modded version. Another negative is, I've got to say, I would have loved to see drilled lug holes. This is perhaps something I can have done, because I am probably going to have a little bit more work done on my mod. The bracelet, without a surprise, is not to my liking. It's you know, we don't have any solid end links. It's quite tinny and cheap feeling. Another negative is perhaps it is a little bit too tall. Having said that, the Blancpain, on average, I think about 15 millimeters. This is 14. It's a chunky watch. It's not big, but it's chunky. I kind of like that. It adds to its presence to some degree, but it is a bit of a chunky one. Other than that, it's an outstanding watch for the money. Now, let's discuss a little bit about the modding, because there was a bit of disappointment with my mod. It's a real shame, because this is an American watchmaker who specializes in modding Seikos. When I find a watchmaker or dealer that provides a service that is outstanding, like my friend in the UK who modded my SKX Watchmaker 4, I recommend them. But unfortunately, I cannot recommend the guy I found on eBay that did my 55 Fathoms mod here. First of all, when I ordered it, it's not like Watchmaker 4 that he mods them, then he lists them. This guy, I had to wait an extra 10 days after the purchase for him to then do the modding, which was not clearly indicated on the listing. It was very in small print on the delivery estimation time, which is not where you want to have it. But then I thought, you know what, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Hopefully he'll do a remarkable job when it arrives. The price was very affordable, so I was gonna wait and see what happened. When the watch arrives, I was very happy with how it was performing. Everything lines up. You know, the bezel, the actual dial, the hands. However, I noticed on the minute hand, the end of the minute hand, and on the edge of the hour, there was a little bit of gunk. It just shows me a lack of attention to detail. There was plenty of time to look carefully at the details and make sure everything was pristine and done well. Now, there are no fingerprints or dirt on the inside of the crystal, which is a common occurrence when you have things changed, you know, first amateur mistake. I considered sending it back, but then I really wanted to make this video. I am absolutely loving and enjoying the watch, and I don't really notice these tiny little details, only at certain angles. It's not on, it simply is not on. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, I'm probably going to send it to my guy who modded my SKX, and actually this experience has made me really appreciate Watchmaker 4 and it's simply outstanding work that he does. A lot of you asked for an update on my mod and how the Cerakoting has fared over time, and it's held up very, very well. It's only chipped off slightly at the bottom of the crown guard, which is probably the most pronounced part of the watch. I'm not surprised that it chipped off a little there. But generally, the bezel, everything is flawless, so it's quite robust, it's quite resilient to wear and tear. Ironically, the place that the watch has got the most damage is on the aluminium insert at the 12 o'clock, just near to the right of the loom pip. So it just goes to show you that the Cerakoting, and actually it's probably a blessing in disguise, that the Cerakoting is more resilient than, let's say, the aluminium insert, because also where there's a little mark, it's close to the bezel where there is coating. So that means that it's definitely tougher than an aluminium insert, which is a good result. The watch is performing impeccably well, and I still wholeheartedly recommend Watchmaker 4. I just wish he was in the United States, because it's going to be a bit of a pain sending, you know, this internationally to the UK, although I'm going to ask him if he can do drilled lug holes, and I've seen him do Blancpain mods on Seikos before. What I might have done is the insert on the bezel with loom. I've seen him do that. I think it's really cool. I'm gonna see how much he quotes me to have that done, and change the hands or clean the hands. I'm sure you can do that. That's very easy. So I think it is kind of a blessing in disguise, because it proves that when you find a good watchmaker, and you know, Watchmaker 4 is not, it's not cheap. This costs what, double the price of an SKX, and I was for a long time thinking, is it really worth, you know, spending $400-500 on an SKX mod? It is. It is. I think it is, because his work is outstanding. Of course, everyone can make errors, but when you've got an extra 10 days to get it right, and you don't inspect the watch that closely to notice the gunk on the hands, it shows me a lack of attention to detail and poor QC. So there we go. That is my review of these two watches and an update of my SKX. I'm still absolutely loving it, as you can expect. I kind of was generally a little bit disappointed about this because, well, don't get me wrong, it's a cracking watch for the money. I totally recommend it. Despite its downfalls, it's still very endearing. However, it's not a replacement for the SKX. I've been looking for a dive watch, and you know, the only suitable, really viable alternative is the Orient Ray and which one? The Mako 2, the Orient divers at the same price range. They're the only real viable alternatives. Every month there's the talk, oh, the SKX is discontinued, and then suddenly they're back in stock, and then they run out, and then the price is fluctuating. So I am on the lookout for something dive watch themed that is going to be more affordable. This is not it. I still think the SKX is the king at this price range. It's an icon, it's a film star, it's a professional ISO certified diver, and until it is 100% you know, confirmed it's been discontinued, as far as I'm concerned, it is still going. So anyway, a lot of questions, a lot of issues addressed today. Let me know your thoughts, queries, comments, opinions, all the rest of it down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed and found it useful, and as always guys, I will catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao.